Hello and a warm welcome. My name is Robert Vogel, and in the next minutes, I want like to talk with you about the so-called Taylor Hub, which is a picture that shows the development of the VUCA world over the past century and shows you some ideas what changed over the last 20 to 30 years and how we started in the early days of the industrial area. And within these pictures, I want to say that the first idea of these pictures was done by Gerhard Wohland. Hi, Gerhard. Greetings from this point of view. Accidentally watched this video. And then further used by Bernd Österreich in his book Kollegiale Führung. And I would like to mention these two guys for the impression and the the ideas and the discussions we had regarding these time frame and regarding the Taylor Hub. Thanks a lot for this, guys. I would like to begin in the very left-hand side of this picture where you see the first hill or plateau, which is then going down. In this area, it's called the manufacturing time. And in this area, you had small markets, you had businesses that were very local, and you had to deal as a business owner with individual requirements. There was a small market. You had pressure on these small markets. So you had a bakery in the town, in the city, and you had a stallion. You need to produce cutlery and living things, whatever you did, and you had to produce it in a very individual way. So the requirements of the customer were very important for you to produce your things for your business. And as well, the surprises and the uncertainty was also very important. It could happen that the next day, well, your customer was dead, and you need to handle the situation. And it was very volatile as well. Because so many things could happen in these small market in this time frame. You had to master your environment, and pretty often your business was a master and an apprentice, and these two worked close together to share ideas and experience. You need to be very flexible. You need to produce ideas so that you produce you need to have had ideas so that you produce a product for the customer that is pretty individual and fits the requirements of these customers. You need to deal with people all the time, with people of different areas, of different levels. That was a very, let me say, VUCA world during these times. And you need to handle this as a business owner. What happened then was the more or less industrial time frame. And there was one man with an idea. This was Taylor. And the idea of Taylor was we should find the best way for a single step. And he thought that if you have a product, we need to split this product into these single steps and optimize one of these steps so that we find the most efficient way for this single step, put these steps together, and had our product. This was flanked by a growing market. So transportation starts. I think it was the first time of globalization where you can send your products overseas or um, with the railways. With it starts with planes, and you can use transportation to send out your products, and the markets grow. It was an unsatisfied market. So each and anybody said, wow, there's a new refrigerator. I need one. There's a new car. I would like to buy one. And so the markets were very open, and anybody needs a car. And it doesn't matter whether this car was black or green, or the color doesn't matter. You produce one, you optimize your production process, and customers bought your products. And there, the best way to do this is really by optimization, by building a working belt, by using the best way for a single step. In this time frame, management was invented. So a few people that said, well, this is the idea, and this we think about the best way, and others who do not need to think about the best way, they only need to have to do this, to move through the step, to follow the process. And this where you see in the middle of the picture the plateau down sign, so the bottom of this tub. And this was during the whole industrialization time frame where optimization was key. And you see the words there: efficiency, process oriented. You have rules, you need to follow these rules. One step follows the next by a process step. And if you put the same things in, you get the same output anyway. And this was the industrial time frame. And by the end of the 80s, 1980s, there start one invention. It is more or less the internet that starts really to connect people, to build networks, to build a community of the whole world of customers. So nowadays you can order something by Amazon or anywhere in the internet, and you will get it by the next day. The next phenomenon that happens was that the markets becomes become narrower and narrower. You have really narrow global markets. And if you think about in the middle of the picture of this plateau of the top, there is the VUCA ideas or the VUCA phenomenon. It's there, but it's really, really slow. It's really down. You can produce things and anybody bought it. So you do not need to think about how to handle things individual or how to handle things that are uncertain. You do not need to think about this. And by the 80s, this increase more and more. The markets become more narrow, which means you need to think about how can I differentiate myself from my neighbor? How can I be a step forward to the other business? How can I fulfill the customer needs much, much better than my competitor? And this starts again by the people that were connected by the internet, by the markets, by the transportation, by all these things that give you the chance to deliver your product. And you need to have the best product in terms of fulfill the individual needs. And the key fact for this, from my point of view, were two things. The first thing, really, the markets that become narrow and narrow, so the narrow global markets is one thing. And the second thing, really the internet and the connection we have to anybody in the world. So that even a company in anywhere, in India, in the US, can produce things and send it over to me. So I think these two things put the pressure on businesses, on organizations, so that with elements of these operating of my organizational operating system that worked during this industrial time frame, these elements will not longer work during this increased area of the VUCA world. And I think that is the challenge at the moment. We as organizations, we have plans and budgets and processes, and these things are pretty cool and efficient and effective where we know what to do. But if we at the moment need to find ways to really get the best product or the product that fits the best the customer needs, we do not need what to know. And we need to find different ways to handle these volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And this is really pretty important, and this is what we need to change. So by seeing the increasing of this complexity and this VUCA area on the right hand side, we need to find different ways to handle with this area. And I mentioned a few one. For example, doing an experiment, having an assumption, follow this assumption, and take care what is the output and observe the output, and stuff like this. More in the offers and in the pit stop here in this VUCA area. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it, the idea of what I mentioned in the last pit stop about these Taylor Tub. Starting 150 years ago with the manufacturing area, where we already had a VUCA world and local markets with high pressure, moving towards the industrial area where the VUCA world even exists, but was going down and decrease by the way that by the fact that the market was pretty open, that the market was broad and global, and these organizations that were the most efficient one won the race and sold the products. And nowadays, over the last 20 to 30 years, the change in becoming more and more individual, need to solve the individual requirements, build a product in these global and narrow markets that differentiate from your customer. And this is more and more VUCA again, and we need to handle this this VUCA area. And our instruments that we learned during this industrial area does not longer fit to the now existing VUCA world. That's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and perhaps we see us in the next VUCA pit stop. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.